Whitaker in top form, primed for a wrestling heavy clash against Khamzat Chimaev at UFC Saudi Arabia, aka UFC Fight Night. And I'm really interested in this fight for obvious reasons. But I'm not so sure that Khamzat's going to come out wrestle heavy. I think he's going to come out and try to land a big KO in the first round. Now, the only thing that makes that also possibly not happen is that Khamzat doesn't want to mess with a striking Robert Whitaker, right? If he feels like he can take him down at will like he did with Usman, he'll go that route, you know? It was a good game plan against Usman. Performed really well until the injury, and then he looked rough the next 2 rounds. He can't afford to get injured in the first round in a 5-round fight with Whitaker, though. But what's the chances of that happening? I mean, it's possible. But sometimes these guys don't look great, like Colby Covington against Leon Edwards, right? Then you find out later, okay, they had an injury. That's why they didn't look good. But Khamzat, right, injured, still wins the fight. And everyone can say what they want. Oh, he didn't look great against Usman or Burns or whatever. Well, it is what it is. Now we got Robert Whitaker. And when he beats him, no matter how he beats him, you're going to have to come to recognize that Khamzat is the future. And it's time to start putting him in the title conversation. Everyone swore after the Usman fight he's guaranteed a title fight. No, he wasn't guaranteed a title fight. There was some mixing of words by Dana White in the UFC, like a title eliminator. I mean, every fight's a title eliminator. If you lose, not many guys fight for the title coming off a loss. So almost every fight is a title eliminator. So that's the way that story goes. And we're now less than 2 weeks away from Khamzat Chimaev's return. And I cannot wait. Let's just get past this week, a flyweight main event. I know, a little boring, right, in terms of what people want to see. But the bottom line is we get a big fight with Khamzat the following week, so we'll do what we got to do. Kenneth Bruner in the chat says Rosas Jr. is a likely future champ, in my opinion. I think so too, and that's why we got to put him on the dude list. King Terzi, listen to me, and you are the biggest Chimaev fans. Don't overthink this. We already won, bro. Yeah. No reason to overthink it, but we got to talk about all the topics and things like that. I mean, yeah, Khamzat's winning the fight. Chimaev by any way he wants. Exactly. And I think that's why, Robert Whitaker's trying to talk to him about the wrestling thing and trying to lure him into a striking battle. And I don't really think it matters. I hope Khamzat just goes in there against a striking Whitaker and just floors him. I hope he just goes in there and forget the takedowns, right? Now, if takedowns win the fight, fine. But that's a lot of control time for 5 rounds. Khamzat's got to be looking to go in there and forget about the gas tank right now. Trying to prove you can go 5 rounds. If you have to one day, fine. But there's no need to prove anything. All you got to do is go in there and get a win and jump your ranking up into the top 3 or 4. And although that happened in the welterweight division, he had trouble making weight. So that wasn't realistic. So he got to 2 or 3. And then it's like, okay, you're going to make him fight another fight. You're going to make him fight Nate Diaz, who was unranked at the time. And he's a number 3 contender. It's just ridiculous. I mean, Khamzat was being used, and I'm glad he didn't make weight for that fight, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Because Khamzat's not someone that should be used. The Michael Reynolds says, Whitaker Ham can jump Strickland in line and get the next title shot. If you get a big win, right? Because of Mavov last night, and all these fights in the middleweight division this month is crazy. But maybe because you don't get an exciting finish, people are like, well, Cannonier could have won that fight. Sean Strickland he dominated Paulo Costa, but he didn't get a finish. He just cruised to victory. So it's very possible. But I think this is why you haven't seen Du Plessis and Adesanya announced yet. I think the UFC is going to sit around and wait and see how all these middleweight fights take place. And if Khamzat goes in there and floors Whitaker in the first round, which is why I'm hoping he's not trying to get to a 5-round fight to prove he's got a gas tank. If he floors him in the first round, he could fight for the title. It's very possible. I don't think that would happen, but you never know.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White.
privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
Testing. Thank goodness. I thought we lost audio right when we went live. That would have been terrible. What's happening? It's your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA podcast, final show of the week.
Yes! Yes!
Thank God we made it, because I'm exhausted. I'm ready for a few days off. Got a lot of predictions to do for this week. And next week is Saudi Arabia, Khamzat Chimaev coming up. So we're going to be pumping out the predictions over the next 2 to 3 days. So be ready for that.
Boom!
Yes, sir. I know we got 8 left just for this week. We've only done the first 5 fights, and then there's 14 next week. Lord have mercy. Wear me out. But you know what? It's worth it, because next week Khamzat Chimaev is on deck, and the week after, Conor McGregor. 2 of my favorite fighters of all time, without question, in back-to-back weeks. So I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. But let's jump into it, shall we? Get your comments now in the chat room. Super chat's always accepted. This is going to be a short show. So get in the chat room now. That's what will keep me here longer. So first in the news, it's funny, we were just talking about this last night on the live watch party, right? Dricus du Plessis says today he's willing to fight Khamzat Chimaev with a win at Saudi Arabia, but not Robert Whittaker. At the same time, Adesanya said he's not coming back for belts, he's coming back for something else. So this is all leading to Khamzat versus du Plessis and Adesanya versus Strickland, I think. We'll have to see. Also, Conor McGregor accused of implementing Ryan Garcia-esque mind games in order to fuel UFC 303 speculation. So who's talking that? Who said that? We'll get into that as well. Ian Mahado Gary pushes for 5-round fight at UFC 303 in the co-main event versus Michael Venom Page. I like it. I like it. Both guys need that experience. It never hurts. Also, Jon Jones says the sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become. Talking to Dominick Reyes after his win the other night. The sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become. What is he referring to? Stay tuned for that. So, you got all these topics, four big ones today, because I was so tired getting back from the pool just a little while ago. I'm like, let's just skip the podcast today. I'm going to check out the news. If there's nothing big going on, we're just going to get into an early mini vacation before Saturday night comes. But nonetheless, you got all the big, and that's what I love about this month, man, and every summer. You got all the big names in the news. And the middleweight division is on fire. And Dricus du Plessis is upset. He says, why don't you announce the Adesanya fight? What is the holdup? And the holdup is you have 3 big middleweight fights this month. And the UFC is already playing matchmaking, right? This is why I told you, if Khamzat wins, you're not going to be able to do Adesanya versus du Plessis or risk having Strickland and Khamzat out for a while. Because I don't think Strickland's going to fight down again. And this is why you're starting to hear now, as du Plessis said today, he's willing to fight Khamzat Chimaev with a win at UFC Saudi Arabia. Not Robert Whittaker, though, right, for obvious reasons. So du Plessis is already, pushing for a fight. This guy wants to fight, and I like it. I think it's a very tough matchup for Khamzat, too. I think both guys can strike. Khamzat obviously wins that fight, in my opinion, but it'll probably be the toughest matchup of his career should he get past Robert Whittaker, which we believe he will, right? Because du Plessis is the champ. It's a real deal fight. That's the fight we've all been waiting for. We just got one more hurdle to cross, hopefully. I think that's the only matchup that makes sense in terms of getting all 4 guys. Forget Maevov right now and Marvin Vettori. But the other 4, whether it be Robert Whittaker, Khamzat, Sean Strickland, Adesanya, and Dricus du Plessis, you got to figure out how you can get those matchups in, right? And Khamzat du Plessis is the only one that makes sense because you can get Sean Strickland to fight Adesanya just because of the fact he beat him pretty sure he'll beat him again, and Adesanya wants revenge. So I just don't see Khamzat fighting Adesanya, or which he could fight Khamzat, and he could get a Strickland Duplessis matchup. That's the other possibility. But I still like Khamzat versus Duplessis. I can't wait to see how that shapes out. Conor McGregor accused of implementing Ryan Garcia-esque mind games in order to fuel UFC 303 speculation. And what they're referring to is all the antics that Ryan Garcia did before one of his fights, right? Is the fight happening? Is it not? All this stuff. You're playing mind games with your opponent. And I think Conor McGregor knows he can't just do it in a press conference. So the press conference gets canceled. Everyone's like, what's going on? Is Michael Chandler now at a training camp? Is he not training seriously, thinking the fight's off? I highly doubt that, because it's all what's official and what's not. But it's definitely playing mind games with Michael Chandler. I don't care what Michael Chandler says. And this is what you can expect from Conor McGregor. Gilbert Burns explained the press conference was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago, and the press conference got crazy. I think, in my opinion, Conor McGregor is pulling up the Ryan Garcia card, trying to act a little bit crazy. Let me know what you think about that. I agree with Gilbert Burns wholeheartedly, 100%. Of course, we got to read the news and try to figure this stuff out and decipher what's really happening. But I think that's the most likely option, is that Conor McGregor's fine, this fight's happening, and Conor McGregor is playing mind games by saying very little and being cryptic and letting everybody run and spread the news. Because if there's any thought of the fight maybe not happening, people are going to go crazy, and that's what's happening. That's very easy for McGregor to pull off, make no mistake about it. But that's the likely option, is that he's fine and this fight's happening. Ian Machado Gary pushed it for 5-round UFC 303 co-main event versus Michael Venom Page, and I like this because, number one, it's the co-main event, right? We're already in the pay-per-view. You're already deep into the fight, right? What does it matter to the UFC if it's 3 or 5 rounds? So it really comes down, I mean, we know now, to Michael Venom Page and whether he's willing to accept a 5-round fight. And I think, Ian Gary's saying this because Venom Page has taken this on late notice. So I think that's probably not going to happen. I think that would be a bad move by Michael Venom Page, although I think it will be really good for both fighters. I don't think when you take a fight on short notice, even though you're probably training and ready anyway, but you're not getting a full training camp, mentally knowing, okay, I got 3 months for this fight, here's the progression. You're now in a 1-month progression. That changes the game. So I don't see Venom Page doing that. It's going to be a 3-round fight, which is kind of better too, because you're going to get more action in the first round, right? You would think, because guys got to press and win, first round is very important in a 3-round fight. It is in a 5-round too, but even, the shorter or the less shorter amount of rounds, the less rounds you have, the more important the first round becomes, especially when we're in this time of round by round scoring, which I can't stand. Jon Jones telling Dominick Reyes, the sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become, as he slams a former opponent in his latest online rant, right? And that's because Dominick Reyes keeps saying stuff. Jon Jones tells him, Dominick, when you look back at our fight, I don't want you to ever question me or those judges. Look at your own heart, your own endurance. You didn't do enough. The sooner you accept that, the better athlete you'll become, is what Jones is saying. And yeah, I think he's right. Too often we look back, just like this past week with the Mavov and Cannonier. As soon as that fight is over, I know, I'm still going to be like, it was a bad stoppage, but we got to look past it because it's now official. There's no going back in time. If you keep looking in the past, you're not going to do well in the future. That applies to all sports, all competitive, not even sports, just anything competitive. If you look in the past, you're in trouble, man. You got to look forward. So I'm totally with Jon Jones on this. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. Now, if you missed it last night, let's dive into this real quick. You had a switcheroo at the Ultimate Fighter, right? And they changed the fights on us, and it ended up being Robert Valentin fighting in the middleweight division, which is Grasso's #1 middleweight. And this fight doesn't last long at all, as you're going to see in this clip. In fact, I wasn't even ready for it. I'm just talking about something else as the fight's starting, and boom, the fight's over in less than 20 seconds, I believe. So check this out. Here we go. The Ultimate Fighter 32 middleweight division. Robert Valentin versus Giannis Bashar. This fight is set to begin now. Now Bashar is 33. Valentin, number one pick for Grasso, is 28. So he's entering the prime. And you almost root for the younger guy because you want a younger guy to win and be able to build for the next 3-4 years like a 28-year-old. And by the time he gets to 31, he's for real. So, yeah, we need to see some fighters come out of the Ultimate Fighter. We're not going to see any from last season, I don't believe. Oh, big left hand for Valentin. We didn't even get into it. That's it. I had a feeling. Robert Valentin gets a monster finish. And I wasn't even really paying attention. I feel like this is Tyson in the old days. I missed the whole thing. You blink and you miss it. And we're going to see the replay here because this fight was over in a hurry. Wow. Now I know why this was the second fight. They moved this one up. Okay, you see both fighters touch gloves. They're dancing back and forth. We're getting a little coaching from Grasso and Shevchenko because that's how short the fight was as we go back to the highlights. And they're kind of dancing around, looking at each other. And Robert Valentin is just going to come in, boom, right elbow right away. And was that the finish? No, I think he landed an uppercut or something like that. Okay, and you can see in practice they had worked on that. They're showing the practice footage. Right knee, right. Ooh. And this is what I'm telling you. It's those things that a Grasso or Shevchenko can help their fighters with. So immediately Robert Valentin is backing up. Boom. Right elbow drops him. And no need for the knee and second elbow. He goes right down, and Valentin's on top, pounding away with the left. And he just put everybody on notice. So Robert Valentin is for real. And I don't even know his record because we had prepared for the other fight. But darn it, Robert Valentin just caught my interest. Wait till you guys see this. Oh my gosh. He finished Giannis Bashar in about 10 to 12 seconds. And if you remember last year in the second episode, I think it was like the same thing happened. So, they're trying to build interest. They probably saved this and had to move it up to build interest in this thing, and I'm interested now. So Robert Valentin gets the win here, middleweight division, The Ultimate Fighter 32, episode 2. Yeah, so that fight barely got off the ground. It barely got off the ground. Robert Valentin looks for real. This guy's tatted up. He sleeps outside the night before the fight. And he's psyching out everybody else in the house because they're all living together. And if you haven't seen The Ultimate Fighter, it's worth watching. It's not McGregor versus Chandler, but it's really interesting because Grasso and Shevchenko are taking it really serious. And to me, that's more worthy of me watching. Last year I was watching because McGregor was on there, but it wasn't the best season. I didn't come away thinking these guys are going to win a title. This year, a guy like Robert Valentin could be a very good middleweight, right? And we don't know who's going to come next. He may get beat. Who knows? But yeah, a good night of fighting last night. Make no mistake about it. So let me peek into the chat room, see what's happening in there. Homework's in the house. Saying next week tiers are going to be extra salty. Yeah. For Robert Whittaker fans. No doubt. I heard another video you said you weren't going to miss the fight for anything. Haha. Yeah, listen. Supposed to go on vacation next week. Right? I was letting everyone decide, okay, when, excuse me, when do you want to go on vacation? Everyone says next week. This is a few weeks back, so I know Khamzat's fighting. And I'm like, oh man, luckily next week is my birthday. And I was like, which makes no sense whatsoever, but I'm like, I don't want to be on vacation during my birthday. Because if I would have said I don't want to be on vacation because of UFC, it would have been a problem. Because I'm doing UFC every week. And I know my favorite fighter's fighting. So thank goodness I had the trump card with the birthday. So we're good to go for next week. Homework. Remember when DDP was very dismissive of Chimaev? Yes, he's changed his tune very quick. Yeah, because he knows that I mean, among all the possible fights, you're going to get way more views if it's Du Plessis versus Khamzat. Think about it. If it's Du Plessis versus Adesanya, yeah, there's a lot of Adesanya's big. You're going to get a lot of views, no doubt. Strickland, yes, but that fight's already happened. Both of those fights have already happened, right? Khamzat is the one that hasn't happened. Even though Strickland kind of, you can make the case he got robbed and people want to see a rematch there potentially. Khamzat is the only one that hasn't got to fight Du Plessis yet, so that's the push for that, and it will sell big time, right? Because it's Khamzat's first crack at a title. And man, I'll tell you what, it makes it, I didn't think this was possible a few weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, the way everything's playing out with Khamzat fighting last and him being the only one not to fight Du Plessis, that fight makes the most sense. And I'm starting to get excited, but I'm getting nervous too, because now there's this added thing of like, we're so close, you know? We've been talking about this since 2020, roughly 2019, 2020. Why, right? We've been with Khamzat. And we're this close now. We thought we were this close against Burns. We really did. And things didn't go our way because of the weight problem and all that. But now we're really that close. And I'm excited. I'm excited for next week. All I want for my birthday is a Khamzat victory. That's what I told everybody already. Don't even worry about presents. Just make sure I'm cool for fight time. That's it. I got to make sure I'm in my chair ready, watching all 14 fights, sweat. And I'm not lying. You know, listen, I'm a huge Khamzat fan, but that it's just like when McGregor fights, even when Adesanya fights, I'm like very nervous because I like these guys are my guys, right? It's just like in football, you have your favorite team, man. The farther they get to the playoffs, man, you get nervous. You get nervous in the back of your mind because the reason you get nervous too is you expect your team to win. Like, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. I expect them to win all the time, and I'm left sad at the end of the day and mad. First sad, then mad. And a lot of times the sad part is real short. You know what I mean? And then the mad part takes over. So I'm nervous because, you know, we need a Khamzat victory. But I think we're going to get it, you know. But am I set myself up for a letdown? We'll see. I don't think so. But we'll see. But listen, that brings us to the end of the week, barring any type of a special announcement tomorrow. We're going to be on ice for the next 2 days, and then we'll restart on Saturday. Not sure if we're doing the watch party this week or not, because I don't think it's going to be big. So we might take this week off in terms of the watch party on Saturday, and just, you know, we'll see. But nonetheless, that's the end of the week for the podcast. It's your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.